Okay. So in this example, we're now going to add some images and then mask them to create a looping animation. So this section over here I've got is on a layer called image mask, which will eventually be doing the masking. Below it I've got an empty layer called images, which is where I'll place the images when I import them. To start off with, I'll import them to the library, so that's file and then import to library. The dialog takes a few seconds sometimes the first time you run it. And there we go. Okay. I just need to find the images I've downloaded. One of them. It's going to be easy to just go by get the most recent ones. Okay. Two of them have shown up here. Okay, so I've got some images of varying sizes. Just put that on the stage by accident, so I'll delete it. So I've now got 3 images, and you can tell that they're images because the little swatch that little icon they've got, which is like a tree, which stands for a photograph image. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add them to a movie clip. So what I'll do is I'll select the image mask, I'll copy it, and then I'll create from the library a new symbol, and this can just be image holder. Now there's a few different ways of bringing images in. I'm going to do this manually because it's quite simple, but at a later point I'm going to show you how to do this using ActionScript to load images from within a folder. Okay, so to make some amendments to the animation, what I need to do is to unlock the layer, both the layers, the mask and the images layer. Then select the images layer to be able to double click on that image. And what I want to do is get to the end of the timeline and make sure that now, rather than it going completely past the end of the mask, it actually lines up with the edge of it, so when it loops from that point. I'll also just resize that last image a little bit so that it is roughly the same size as the others. I need to zoom in a little bit for that though. Just want it to line up with the bottom of the mask. And I can go back into image holder and back into organisation and test that again. I'll lock the layers, I can see it. And there we go. So the animation trickles along. The menu comes over the top of it. And we could obviously take that even further if we were, for example, wanting to use that image again as some kind of background for the text perhaps. So I might have another image as an image mask. I'll just create 2 layers for that. Call that image mask 2. 2, images 2, and then in images 2 what I'll do is I'll just bring on the image holder again. Maybe scroll it across to a suitable position. Looks like it will. Alright, make sure it fills the frame fully. And then for image mask, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the background, so I'll need to hide these images for a second. Unlock the background and select these 3 boxes. I'll just copy them using Ctrl and C. Select the mask layer that I want to use and then paste it in place, and then I should be able to just turn it into a mask. There we go. Unlock the background layer again. Save and test that. Okay, and you can see it running through the images. What I'm going to do in the second mask, or second image layer, is I'm going to break it apart so it's just a static image. So I can do that by right click and then break apart. So then it's just the symbol images group 1. So it should just be a static image now. There we go. So there's the whole image zooming across like that. Doesn't have to be the same image, it's just for illustration purposes. Given industry trends, it takes us to the next page. And there we go, that's a good point to end. Okay, so currently this movie clip is empty. You can see that by the empty frame on layer 1. What I'm going to do is right click and paste in place on the stage, and there we go, that's the position of the rectangle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to align that by clicking this little button here. I can align to stage. What that does is it uses the registration point up here as being the stage, so I can position it relative to that, which is what I want to do really. So I'll align the left edge and align the top edge so that it's got a registration point at the top left corner. I could put it in other places. For example, I could put it center or left center. I'm just going to go for top left, which is the default usually. Okay, so that's going to give me a guide. So I'm just going to turn that layer into a guide. So it won't be seen. It'll be disregarded when it comes to compiling. And in layer 2, that's where I'm going to place the images. So I'll just lock the guide layer, so I'm not selecting it all the time. And then I'll bring the images in to layer 2. And what I'm going to do is align them to the top left to start off with, or the first one. Choose the transform tool, free transform tool. And I'm going to move the transform point, which is this circle that's currently in the center, to the top left. Then I can zoom out so I can see the bottom left. Holding shift constrain proportions while I left click and drag until. There we go. It fits on the screen the same height. Then I can bring a second image on, which will be even bigger by the looks of it. Align that again. I just need to zoom out on this one. Control minus is the shortcut for that, by the way. There. And so it resize to that point. And then I'll zoom in to make sure it's snapping close to the same height. Seems a little bit off. And then zoom out and bring the third image in, which is the last image, and that'll be resized. If you notice that the stage got bigger as I've now made it bigger by bringing these images on. So again from the top left. It's the same size. That should be roughly around the same size. Okay, so I'll select all three images together, right click, and I'll turn them into just a graphic symbol so that I can animate them on the timeline. And I'll just call that images group 1 and click OK. So now on that layer I can create an animation relatively with a period of time. So currently the frame rate is 24 frames per second. I'll stick with that. So that's 1 second, 2 seconds, maybe 72 would be 3 seconds, so maybe looking around 5 seconds. Which would be 120-ish. Insert frame there, right click, create motion tween, and then all I want to do is to move it from the left edge to the right edge in the last frame. And I can do it by clicking and holding shift so it keeps it in a straight line until I can see the edge of the stage, which is represented by the mask shape. Oh, there we go. Oh, by the registration point, given that the mask doesn't exist in frame 120. I can play that through by pressing return or enter. It goes through, still pretty fast. If I prefer that to be longer, I can hover over the edge until I can see this 2-arrowed cursor and just drag it out even further. I'll double the length and see what it looks like. Now it's a bit slower. Okay, so then I can go back to the main timeline. In the top left you'll see it says image holder and then organisation. So organisation will take me back to the timeline, and then images I will then bring image holder on. So that's on the image layer, which is underneath what will be the mask. Get it lined up, and starting point aligned with the edge. There we go, and then all I need to do is right click image mask, click mask, and then that masks the whole layer. And I should be able to test this one scene with Control Alt and Enter at the same time. Okay, now I've got some errors based on some of my code, but this is likely to be the fact that I've just tested one scene rather than the whole movie. But I'll just double check that afterwards. You can see there, so the images are scrolling past, and what I want to do is to get to the point where the images reappear or loop over.